NaNoWriMo is hard. I've just been writing the worst scenes ever. I wrote 5,000 words yesterday. It's all Lona's fault. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm like, you ruined everything. I'm so irritated. I just want to stop writing. I have set my mind to this. I refuse to lose.
You say that everything is okay, 'cause you come.
So it's somehow NaNoWriMo week 3. So technically it's not week 3. Technically it's November 12th. Week 3 for me. Haven't been writing very frequently in the last 2 days. I mentioned it in my last NaNoWriMo vlog. If you didn't know, I've been doing weekly vlogs this month. I'm currently at 19,947 words in my Nano work in progress. As a quick recap, I am working on a contemporary fantasy adult novel. It's not a new project. I'm just trying to finish it. So today is the 12th, and according to my calendar, which is right over here, I need to write 20,004 words by today. Today I'm going to try to hit the 13th goal because as a student, I found it is just much easier for me to stay on top of the word count rather than falling behind. I think falling behind for me would just overwhelm me. It makes me feel better if I'm a little bit ahead, at least 500 to 1,000 words. My goal has been 1,000 words. The chapter's chapter 27. It's in Reeves' head. It's a big chunk of like everything that I've just been writing as of late. 2,000 words-ish right now. I mentioned this in my last video where like the book was boring and then I did something fun and now it's kind of boring again. So I'm like really excited to do something fun. It's November 15th. Keeping up with my word count has become increasingly hard and I'm really, really tired. NaNoWriMo has been kind of on the back burner a little bit. It has been, I will say, not easy. I think the last couple of days, first week was fine. Second week was fine. Third week, I am getting tired. I'm not somebody who usually gets mad at myself. I used to be actually. I used to be kind of tough on myself, but I'm not usually like quite like mean or like cruel to myself anymore. So I'm not yelling at myself that I haven't been able to upkeep the goal, which by the way, let me just make it clear. I have been able to upkeep the goal. I'm currently at just over 23,000 words, which means like I hit the word count for yesterday, the 14th. For some reason, I thought that I actually had to hit that today and that I was ahead, but I'm not. I have to hit 25,000 words today. And I am in a slow point in my book. And I actually made a community post about this. I know it's not a slow point. I know the problem. The problem is I keep writing scenes that don't need to be scenes and that should just be summary, but I don't know what to do when I already started writing them. So I just continue anyway. I know that already, which is fine. And what's been fun, I talked about in the community tab post, is that I have been finding it absolutely freeing to realize that I'm actively doing something wrong in my draft and just continuing anyway. Yesterday, I was scrolling through book 3 of Fostered, which I've already said this before. It's my favorite book that I've ever written. It's not good by any means. It's dramatic. The dialogue is bad. I'm sure the plot makes no sense and it ends very stupidly. It's still my favorite book I've written because of the experience and because of what happens in that book. It's just amazing. And I was going through it yesterday because I've been doing this fun thing where I'm like propagating scenes that I've already written into Seventh Virtue. Now, I'm not copying and pasting them because obviously they wouldn't work copy and pasted. The relationships are quite different. The dialogue, how people talk is different. Situation is different. But I'm taking the concepts of some of these favorite scenes that I have in Fostered and I'm rewriting them into Seventh Virtue because it's my book and I do what I want. And so I was doing that yesterday and it was just so fun to actually look at book 3, which I wrote in 2015. And it's fun to actually look back at it and see typos all up in the draft, sloppy writing, like going quickly through things and lack of development, taking too long on other things. I loved seeing that. If you told 18-year-old me that I somehow managed to make writing just as fun as it was when I first started when I was 12, 13, she wouldn't believe you. Writing embarrassing things, writing things where you guys would read it and be like, this is your writing is hilarious to me because I don't need to be one type of writer. I don't need to be a writer who writes fabulously for absolutely everything. And what's fabulous? Define fabulous. Is it fabulous because the prose is impeccable and award winning, or is it fabulous because I loved doing it? For example, my writing in my short fiction and just in other novels in general and that aren't Seventh Virtue is very different. You can read my writing if you want. My writing has been published a lot. You can read it in the description if you want to check it out. My writing in Seventh Virtue is thinner. It's melodramatic. It's explanatory. There's barely any description and it's fine. And I love it because I'm having so much fun. I think, at least in my process, something that's so important is defining how good, quote unquote, my writing is, but how much I enjoyed it. Because, I mean, you can look at passages in Feeding Habits and be like, yes, that's objectively good. And I'd be like, I hated writing that. How is that good? You know? With that said, Seventh Virtue is not very enjoyable right now. I have been writing a lot of scenes that actually should just be summary. And because of that, the writing can be so arduous and so sluggish and so irritating. It's not fun at all. And something that I've realized is when that happens, obviously it's NaNoWriMo. I'm not going to go cut it out. Obviously, I can actually come back later and I can compress those scenes. Because some of it, you know, you might want to have a half scene. Like you might want to put some of it in dialogue and then summarize some of it. So I'm not going to delete it. It's not something that I need to delete. I've been writing a conversation between Harrison and Foster, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this isn't working. This shouldn't be here. I don't stop and I don't go and I delete it or I move it into my trash pile, which I have for all of my books. It's just where I put writing I'm not using anymore. I leave it and I just keep going as if it wasn't there. And for example, this big thing happened in my book and it is the lamest possible reveal ever. It is so anticlimactic how I revealed it in the book to the point where like I'm not even excited. I don't care. I'm just going to go into drafting today as if I am excited about it, as if I did write it the way that I wanted to write it. Because how am I supposed to be perfect for a 150,000 word book? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. Something that also has been really helpful and also detrimental is that me and my sister started rewatching Pretty Little Liars, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. I started watching PLL when I started writing pretty much, and it was so influential. Like, for example, like I remember watching season 5 and writing book 3, which is, again, my favorite book. So it's been really fun to watch it and also write and like pick up on the mannerisms of my writing when I'm watching this particular TV show. But I was drafting while watching it yesterday. I don't know if it's because of my neurodivergent brain, but I'm quite good at doing multiple things at once. Because of that, I was able to write and watch the TV show. So I think I wrote like 500 words while I was watching PLL, and then after PLL, before I went to bed, I ended up writing a little bit more. I can't remember exactly how much. Again, I have to hit 25,000 words today. Wish me luck. I'm honestly just trying to get to the exciting part in the book. If I need to come back and rewrite this later, which I will, I don't care. I will do it later. That is all to say, who cares what anybody thinks about your writing, even yourself? Put your enjoyment first. Life is short. You don't know when your life is going to end. Honestly, sorry to make this very dark. Just write the thing that you want to write. With that said, I'm not going to write right now. I can't. I have a Red Bull chilling in the fridge for when I come back from class. I did write 2 poems on the weekend for a portfolio. I'm doing a lot of work, guys. Sometimes I don't realize how hard I'm working because it's just normal for me, which is, I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's not a good thing. So I'm doing a hell of a lot. Now is the time when you pat yourself on the back, say you're proud of yourself. It doesn't matter if you're behind. It doesn't matter if you don't think you're going to win. I'm proud of you for making it this far, okay? Hopefully you can't see how messy my apartment is. So it is November 16th. And wow, I am tired and NaNoWriMo is hard. I wrote like 2,000 words yesterday because I needed to get slightly ahead on my word count. I'm a creative writing student if you are new to this channel, which means I have creative writing to do for school. Personally, my NaNoWriMo goal is like the most important thing in my life right now, which is such a great reversal for me as somebody in like high school whose goals really revolved around academics. So it's a big thing for me that NaNoWriMo is more important to me than getting an A. I have had to readjust my life to fit it into my schedule because I have writing to do for school and I have personal writing to do. So what I've been doing to sort of meet in the middle is not meet in the middle at all and just write for personal and not write at all like for school. I was supposed to get really ahead on writing. I didn't. But like I'm trying to get ahead so that I can take like 2 or 3 days to focus on my school writing. Because right now I'm only doing NaNoWriMo writing and no school writing at all. Oh, I forgot to start with the good news. I hit 25,000 words in my manuscript yesterday. I mean, that was the goal I was supposed to hit. I'm currently like 400 words ahead of the goal. I'm gonna write for a little bit right now to get at least 1,000 words ahead. It is the 16th of November, which I know I talked to you guys earlier today. I've just been writing the worst scenes ever. Like, they're so boring. I just need to get out of this. It's all Lona's fault. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm like, you ruined everything. I genuinely thought that I had written a lot. Like yesterday I wrote this whole bit in Reeves' point of view. I ended up checking to see how much words I had written. It was like 1,500 words, like not even the daily word count, which isn't nothing. It's a lot of words, but it took so long. Today, 2 hours of work for 500 words. The manuscript is like at 26,100 words or so. I need to be at like 26,600 words for today. And the whole point of today was to get ahead on writing so I can write other things so that I don't get behind on NaNoWriMo. And I can't get ahead. And it's just been so difficult. And because it's boring, I think I just need to move on. So I think I'm just going to do a bit of a time skip, call it a day. I don't even know the concept of time anymore. I'm so irritated. I just want to stop writing. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm so competitive. I have set my mind to this. I refuse to lose. At this point, I don't care what happens. I will win. I mean, it's not a failure if you don't finish 50,000 words. And now I have this goal set in sights. And I'm like, I have made it 26,000 words. I can do the rest, which I know I will. But at what cost? The cost might be my schoolwork. I am trying to block the trash behind me. Ignore my messy bed. Hi guys, it is November 18th and NaNoWriMo has been a thing. God, I'm so tired. NaNoWriMo is going fine. It was not going fine and it's still not gonna go fine if I don't stay on top of it, because I will end up panicking, like to the point where I am going to absolutely fail this goal and it's going to be a huge disaster. I have been having a really hard time scheduling my time. My routine that I had decided I was going to do is just not working anymore. My ideal routine was that I was going to write from 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning every single day and then sort of shift it for days that I did have my morning classes. But the routine I haven't even used in like the last 2 weeks. The first week I stuck to it. Second week, not as much. Third week, it's completely thrown out the window because, I'm waking up now and I'm watching TV, which is totally fine. I deserve to watch TV, but I've been waking up at like 8 a.m. every single day so that I can, watch some TV. But I find that like I'm not actually starting my day until much later in the evening. Yesterday, however, let's talk about what happened. I was behind. NaNoWriMo, for the first time, I was behind. I was trying so hard to push through in this scene that I had been writing with Reeve, and I just couldn't do it. I was struggling like crazy to the point where I didn't make my word count for the day, which like I've not had happen to me. And that was on the 16th that I didn't make my word count. So I made it over halfway through, not hitting the 1667 words every day, because some days I wrote more, so I didn't have to write as much the next day. But I was hitting like the daily, like, oh, I need to write 25,000 words this day or whatever. For the first time on the 16th, that didn't happen. And honestly, it was nerve-wracking because, again, this goal is so important to me. I don't want to throw it away. It's not like I'm throwing it away if I don't win. I'm very determined to do this, and I know that I can do it, and so I want to do it. Like, I really, really want to do it. You don't have to win NaNoWriMo to win NaNoWriMo, right? But I just really, really, really want to hit the 50,000 words this month, and I think it would crush me if I didn't. Like, I don't really like to make tough goals or, push myself too hard. I've been there. I've done that. I don't want to do that anymore. But for this goal in particular, I just really, really want to do it. So when I didn't make my word count for the day, I was, not feeling hot about it. I was 500 words behind and I wanted to get ahead 1,600 words. So I ended up combining those days. Thank God yesterday happened. Oh my God, guys. I wrote 5,000 words yesterday. I checked the word count a bajillion times because I couldn't believe it. I know that I had written a lot because I was like, when I went to go update my NaNoWriMo profile yesterday, I went from 25,000 to 31,000 words. So I breached 30K and I was like, what? Like, I don't think I wrote that much yesterday, but I did. I wrote 5,000. It was like 5,150 words or something. So it was like a lot of words that I wrote yesterday. And honestly, I'm so happy that I ended up kind of pivoting my scene. I knew I needed to sort of get out of this weird little like hole that I'd buried myself in. So I pivoted and I essentially kind of rewrote a scene that appeared, actually two scenes. One that was from book 4 of Fostered and one that was from book 2 of Fostered, where Reeve and Harrison are talking. Obviously, I couldn't copy and paste the scenes over because the content is completely different, but I was able to look at those and use them as a blueprint to actually write a scene between Harrison and Reeve. So I started it while I was in class. I wrote about 1,000 words in my class for the hour and a half while I should have been paying attention to my lecture. Which I was paying attention. I can multitask. I actually can. So I was paying attention and I was writing at the same time. So, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And then when I ended up coming home, I was like, I really just want to watch TV right now. But I decided, no, I really have to get ahead, because if I don't get ahead today, I am going to not have time to work on my school stuff tomorrow. Because again, NaNoWriMo is my number one priority right now. I know it maybe to some people watching this be like, why are you doing that? I just have spent so long wrong putting so many things above what I want, and I just want this very badly. So thank God for writing 5,000 words in one day. I didn't even feel like 5,000 words, and that's how I know drafting with Seventh Virtue is going well, because I can write 1,000 words and it doesn't feel difficult. With this particular project, it's much easier. Writing 1,000 words of a different project is a different situation, but with Seventh Virtue in particular, 1,000 words feels like writing a paragraph, and when it doesn't, I know like the book is not in the right space. So what I was doing wrong was I was making scenes where I needed to summarize, and it's funny because I give this writing advice all the time, but it's hard to implement. I mean, this is one thing where you can't learn how to write just based off of writing advice, because you have to actually do it. And, you know, even though I know, I've told myself, you know, if a scene's not working, I actually made a TikTok about it. It's like, if a scene's not working, ask yourself if you could just summarize it. Even though I know that, I'm like, wait, but you know, do I have to summarize it? But after a while it clicks. So it just goes to show, like, even, you know, the people who like know what they're doing, it's, you know, writing isn't that, you know, as black and white, cut or dry. I got to write a query letter. I wrote like it's just for an assignment, but I wrote the first bit of it. I already have a bio, so really I'm just trying to write like the summary, and then, you know, I have some comp titles already, so I'm gonna do that. I wanted to show you really quickly before I go, my copy of Bloodless Ties by Katie Wismer came. If you don't know who Katie Wismer is an author tuber. She makes really fantastic videos on writing and publishing, and super helpful. She's a self-published author. I read The Marionettes, which is the first book in this series, and Wicked Souls, which is the second one, both I think in August, and I devoured them. I read The Marionettes in 5 hours and Wicked Souls in just a matter of days, and it was such fantastic books. This is the kind of series that I feel like is just getting better and better and better. So I think these are my favorite books that I've read this year. They're really tied between, you know, The Marionettes and Six of Crows, because I love them both, I think, equally, and like I'm excited about both. So I'm just so excited that the third book came. Hitting 30,000 words in this manuscript has renewed some sort of motivation in me to like really like go ham on this, because I'm actually at 31,000 words. So, you know, that's just 20,000 words left. I can do that. I signed off on this vlog, but I'm inserting this clip here. One thing I want to talk about really fast is this book. So I'm in an art class, and this is a prof I actually had when I was in first year, and he was really nice. So he brought this book and let me borrow it. It is essentially, it's called The Secondary Colors by Alexander Thoreau, and it's just 3 essays about the secondary colors. I read the entire orange essay because it's essentially like an index, kind of different ways to describe orange. I'm gonna pull up a couple of my favorites that are sort of mentioned in this book. When I was struggling to feel excited about language and reading this, I was like, I'm such a nerd. Like, I forgot how much of a nerd I am about language, to be honest. I didn't think that somebody describing green as virgin olive oil green would excite me, but it really did, to the point where I was like, I'm so motivated to write. Tigerish, saffron, you know, like saffron orange. I love that. Petrified wood, larkspur, calendula, snapdragon, zinnias, rust, lanolin, like really, really beautiful language that I'm definitely going to be able to pull on. Actually, something I forgot to add, I was shortlisted for the CBC Short Story Prize. I made a video about being longlisted, but I was shortlisted, which means I'm a finalist, which means I won some money, and my poems are published now on CBC Books. So you can read 2 of my poems. One is called Death of a Language. The second one is called On the Internet, My Great-Great-Grandmother's Language. You can read a little profile, a little bit more about me, some things you guys might not know about me. I have had a very like overwhelming last 2 days. I've done, you know, some press for my university. Check out the poems if you want to read them. They are free to read and they're online. Let me know what you think. Hi guys, let's finish up this vlog with a wrap up and a couple of excerpts, since I've been enjoying that little tradition at the end of these writing vlogs. I have a couple of excerpts I want to read, so let's just jump into it. I didn't write actually yesterday at all, so I have to actually hit a word count today, but it's only a couple of hundred words because I'm already at 31,000, and today the word count's like 31,000 and something. So I'm gonna try to get ahead. I wrote a poem yesterday for class. I wrote a query yesterday for class, so I've been writing a lot. Okay, let's read a couple of excerpts. The first one is in Reeve's point of view, because she's getting a lot of point of view chapters. This is her using her like magic. She has a particular magical ability where she can like influence people if they kind of allow her to access their memories. She's trying to help Darren feel better. She found this particular memory of him in childhood that she pulls on, which I just thought it was kind of literary. I was like, yes, like putting the best of both worlds. When she finds the memory, she triggers it like a switch. A place where Darren was happy before her, before Jordan, before Matthew. In this memory, Darren is merely a boy, curly-headed, beaming, too young to even understand that what he runs along is the earth. He waves a white net in the air, chasing a hum of butterflies. Behind him, Beverly follows him, his closest sister, her white socks greening in the ryegrass. It doesn't matter where Beverly is now. Here, sun lattices trees, seeps between clouds. It is warm enough that gliding through the air feels like an extension of the body. Very literary. You see what I'm saying? Okay, next one is not that. It's the opposite. It's in Harrison's point of view, and him and Reeve are like trying to figure out like if he's in a relationship, Foster. And they already know, and Harrison is nosy and needs to mind his own business, but he's not. So he's being a bit of like a nosy best friend in this scene, and Reeve is like, cut it out. So this is about Foster and his potential love life. Essentially, the context here is Foster is late to something, and he's like flustered when he like runs in on like the squad who has been waiting for him. He's like, I'm sorry, I was planting flowers, because he's a green thumb. He's been volunteering at the garden center, which is, you know, quite large at the Peterson estate, but he's like, I was planting flowers, and this is where it starts. You were planting flowers in that outfit? Harrison cuts him off even though he's talking to Reeve. Harrison rises now, walking closer to Foster, who absolutely, most definitely, was not planting asters dressed like this. Beneath his jacket, he wears a freshly ironed button-up and navy cable-knit vest ribbed with mahogany around the collar and sleeves. His copper dress pants are neatly pleated down the front, and his sage wingtips are more appropriate for browsing the waxed floors of a museum rather than roughing it in the dirt. A black leather watch with a moonish quartz face glints off his wrist. Reeve isn't stupid, and apparently Harrison isn't either. Were you on a date? Harrison asks. The next thing is also in Reeve's point of view, but I'm sharing it because it's actually kind of a bit of a rewrite from Feeding Habits. So something that's fun for me in Seventh Virtue is taking scenes from the other books and shoving them into this book for fun. And this is the first thing I think that I've sort of like propagated from Feeding Habits and put in here. A lot of you will recognize this passage because it was from the first chapter of Feeding Habits. It's when Lonan is looking at red paint chips because his girlfriend Eliza wants to paint their kitchen blood red after she goes vegetarian. I put that in Feeding Habits so that Reeve actually does this. Radio throbbed from the store's intercom, dampened by the hustle of carts, the thud of bodies against the concrete floor. Reeve held chips up to the light, as dutiful as a biblical daughter, struggling to find the exact shade he requested, most of the selection indistinguishable. She settled on deer ruby that looked like the raw venison she'd bought a week before, loaded up on paint rollers, paintbrushes, painter's tape, stirring sticks, paid for it all on her own card to be helpful, laid down strips of tape on his electrical sockets while he sat reading on the couch, the roll linked around her wrist like a bracelet or a handcuff, cut bloody paint against his baseboards and filled in the wall in a matter of 10 minutes, her body shivering with sweat. So that's the last excerpt. I had a lot of fun writing this week. I mean, actually looking back on it, let me revise. Writing was terrible, but like actually looking back on the work is really fun. I enjoyed the work. So let me know how your week is going. I'm feeling a little less, I hate my life. But let's chat in the comments. For now, see you guys in another video. Bye.